This book right here is going to make you take a look at yourself. It's going to give you both sides of the story from a good police officer as well as an African American mother of 2 sons. So you get to see both sides, and you get to see both sides honestly and raw. You get to see why I became a police officer. So you get to see my heart, and then you can go ahead and judge the book at that point, because I put all my heart and soul in this book. But I believe this book is going to start to mend a lot of gaps. It's going to start bridging the gap between law enforcement and African American community. But I also think it's going to start bridging the gap between the African American community and the African American community. I think we're going to start coming together because of this book. I'm telling you, I know it is. I think that this is a good read, and you can even, you know it, you can let your children read this book.
How's the reception for the book going?
It's been amazing. The first day the book actually went on sale April 30th, which was my birthday. Amazon said within 6 hours, 300 copies had sold already.
Okay.
So, and then to just piggyback on what you said, the reviews that I've been getting from people have been amazing.
I want you to take me to the exact moment when you said, okay, I'm going to become a police officer. Like, when did it hit you?
I think once I got home I left college early, and I talk about that in my book, and I realized it was so hard to go back to college, but I knew law was in my blood. I'm like, I really want to be a prosecuting attorney, but I also saw the flip side of law enforcement, because I had been exposed to the Rodney King situation. And so once I got home and I realized this is kind of rough going back to college and having a daughter, I'm like, you know what? I think I'd be a pretty good law enforcement officer. So it was all right, let me put my foot in the door and see how I feel about it. I always knew I wanted to help people. That's just how I am. So I figured that was probably the biggest part of it, serving. And I know I love to serve. So that's when I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and try. So I may have been maybe 22, I believe this happened.
Now, from when I read the book, I got a sense of you wanting to protect from an early age. You wanted to protect your brothers and sisters. You wanted to protect your mother from the situations that were going on in the household and different things like that. So to me, when I read the book, I said, wow, she's always had this protective nature and wanted to help others. When did you first experience racism?
Towards me?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, when I lived in Texas. I moved to Texas and I think my daughter was 2 years old, so it had to be like 92. And we moved to Killeen, Texas, which is a military town. With my ex-fiance, he was in the military. And the police officers were very disrespectful, and they didn't talk to us the same way. They were like, you boy, come here. I'm talking to you, girl, come here. I mean, it was so, and I had never experienced it, so it was a shock to my system. I had never experienced that in Cleveland at all. Like I said, the law enforcement officers that I ever had encountered before that, I've never had an issue with any of them. I never did anything wrong either. But to see how they talked, and then even the people in Killeen where we were very nasty, disrespectful. I remember one young lady that lived in the housing community that we lived in didn't even want her son and daughter to play with my daughter because she was black. So that's my first time ever, like, this is real. Racism is still alive. It was almost like a shock to my system.
Okay. And you mentioned that it's basically best to destroy people, it's quicker to destroy people from within. That really hit me in the book. Can you expound on that?
Everybody knows that everything that's going on with the police shootings and everything, we see that going on. But there are a lot of us hurting each other, and they kind of keep out the limelight, or it's normal. Have y'all noticed that? When they put on the news, it seems like this is normal. Oh, we had another African American shooting over here. Another child was killed. And it seems everybody's like, oh, that's normal. That's not normal. That shows us a problem. But what people have to understand is that for a fact that absolutely no outsider, and unfortunately you would say another race if they came into a neighborhood that's predominantly black would be considered an outsider kind. If you were an outsider and you were doing something to hurt somebody, you would stand out. You know what I'm saying? Not only that, you got to think, people live in the same community. We think alike. We know each other's weaknesses. We know what I can do to tick you off. We know what we can do to provoke things. So we know each other. I know what it feels like to be an African American woman. I know what things hurt me, and usually the same things that hurt me is gonna hurt another female of the same gender or the same race as me. Same thing with African American male. You know how African American male think. You're a man. Even if you say, well, no, I'm not a thug, but you can say, well, if I had to think that way, I could. So the easiest way to destroy us is to destroy us with our own people. It's easy that way because I know your weaknesses. I know where you live at. I fit in. So I don't look different. It's not like I'm walking around and I'm a white or a Hispanic or some other race of people walking around with a gun in my pocket. If I see a male, and this is normal for us, and it's a black male walking around with a gun hanging out of his pocket, that's normal for me. I have no idea that maybe he's about to come up there and shoot at somebody down the street and kill a child. It's normal because we actually belong together. So the best way to destroy somebody is to do it internally because we know each other's weaknesses. Same thing with a company. Most companies, if you ask them why they went out to business, they'll tell you internal theft. I know how the business operates. I work for the business. I know how my bosses think. I know what time they come in. It's the best way. I know how to get away with things. Come on now.
Okay, I got you.
Come on.
Okay.